Sometimes bad people also have a soft heart. They fell in love with the women and everything changes. So in this video, we are going to talk about top 10 Turkish Mafia romance series. Yusuf Kurus, the Bad Penny. A serial killer is stalking Singirakli, a tight-knit Roman neighborhood with little regard for outsiders. He leaves 3 pennies on each of his victim's body, and the case is assigned to the organized crime unit. Its Captain F.A. initially suspects Kartal, a Romani mafia leader who is the neighborhood protector and F.A.'s target. However, as F.A. realizes that Kartal is not the killer, the cop and the mafia leader form an uneasy alliance to find Singirakli's 3-penny serial killer. F.A. has always looked at Kartal's neighborhood as a breeding ground for criminals and lowlifes, but this case helps him see through the Romani perspective. The unexpected connection between the 3-penny serial killer and the Kartal's tragic past will call into question everything he believes. Isarde, Insider. When Sarp's brother Umut disappears and is presumed dead, his mother hangs on to his memory for dear life. Sarp blames himself for having lost him and is still haunted by the loss. Just as Sarp is to graduate from the police academy, he is assigned to infiltrate the mafia syndicate run by the mob boss, Salal. He believes by succeeding with his mission, he will finally find peace in his mind and soul. When getting further involved in Salal's world, Sarp also finds himself developing deep feelings for the mob boss protege, Malik. She was taken off the streets begging as a small child by Salal, alongside a little boy Mert. Sarp eventually discovers that Mert is his long-lost brother, who in turn is embarking on his own mission for Salal. Suddenly the siblings are reunited, but not as 2 brothers, but 2 opponents on different sides of the law. Zumrud Uanka, the Phoenix. Zumrud works with his father, mother and 2 sisters in the most Mufsid neighborhood of Nefsahir and works in the factory of Demirkans, one of the most powerful families in central Antolia. Zumrud's mother is a woman who constantly complains about the state of Ulfat, marrying her daughter to a good fortune and pursuing accounts of surviving the infamous life they lived. On the one hand, Zumrud is trying to cope with her pressures, while on the other hand he is trying to hide the marriage proposal of Adil Bey, one of the heirs of Demirkan, from her mother. However, Ulfat will learn this and resort to 1001 kinds of game to put his daughter at the wedding table. The Emerald, on the other hand, will resist after all, because there is a secret that scorches your heart. Zumrud is in love with Sarat, the grandson of the Demirkans who was killed in Syria, and this love has turned to ashes. Son Yaz, The Last Summer. Idealistic public prosecutor Selim Kara receives an offer he cannot refuse from organized crime leader Selçuk Taskin, who he sent to prison 8 years ago. Selçuk wants to testify in the trial of prosecutor Selim, which will bring down the entire criminal organization. However, there is only one condition for this. His son Akgun is the bodyguard of Selim. For Akgun, an emotional young man who grew up in the criminal world behind his dangerous and troubled appearance, this is a difficult situation to accept. Life tested Selim from a place he didn't accept. His wife Sinan, who lives with the children in Izmir, wants a divorce. Prosecutor Kara, who is between his family and his work, is come to take Akgun, who he considers a pain in the ass, to the justice site in Sesme, Izmir. The arrival of Selim's unexpected guest Akgun will upset all the balances of the residents of the site. This wind, which started in the Aegean, will turn into a big storm that will change everyone's life. The Circle, Halka. The Circle is a criminal organization that manages the dark world in Turkey. Whenever one member becomes too powerful, the rulers of the Circle decide to kill him. 25 years ago, a mafia leader Eren becomes a threat for the Circle and he is pulled over a trap. His newborn baby is kidnapped by the members of the Circle. In order to save his baby, Eren goes to the meeting area, but he was killed there. Eren's wife Humaira cannot find her own baby. Her baby Cihangir is taken by a big mafia member Ilhan, and a newborn baby Khan is handed in to Humaira in return. Humaira understands that she would not be able to get her own baby. Thus she accepts her fate and decides to raise Khan as if her own son. 25 years later, the destiny of these 2 babies intersect again. Cihangir is a brave young man who has been raised by Ilhan and doesn't know the fact about his past. He believes that he is the son of a big mafia leader Ilhan. Cihangir suffers from insomnia and gets psychological support. He works together with his so-called father and carries out legal and illegal business. Çukur, The Pit. Çukur, one of the most dangerous neighborhoods of Istanbul, is ruled by the Kokova family. Although they are closely related to crime, the family has its own rules. One of these rules is the prohibition of drugs. Drugs cannot be produced, used or sold in Çukur, but one of the upstarts is determined to break the ban. First, he tries to negotiate with the Kokovas, But when his request is rejected, he attacks the neighborhood and the family with his power. Just as he thinks that he has put the family on their knees, something unpredicted comes up. Now the cards need to be dealt again. Yamak is a young man who has focused himself on living life the way he wants to. He is a man who doesn't think about tomorrow. One night he meets a beautiful young woman, as wounded and dangerous as himself. Her name is Sena. Soon they fall in love and get married. While thinking that they would live happily ever after, Yamak's family that he believed he had left behind comes between them. As Sena follows Yamak and runs in the family, they are not aware that their lives will never be the same. Sen Anlat Karadiniz, Lifeline. Nefis was only 16 years old when she was sold to a rich abusive man, Vedat, under the name of marriage. Nefis had a tough life and had been locked up in house, tortured for 8 years long in Vedat's mansion in Istanbul. In her 25th attempt, Nefis manages to escape from the living hell with a 7-year-old son, Yigit, who was a result of rape. Her escape was a complete coincidence that happened during a visit of a small-town cultural family from the Black Sea region. One of the sons, Tahir, who didn't know Nefis and her son are hiding in his car trunk, discovers that when he arrives to his home country Trabzon, that is 562 miles away. As a man born and raised in the Black Sea region, Tahir is ready to give his life for any person treated unjustly. Tahir sacrifices himself to save Nefis and her son. While doing so, he faces many challenges including exposing himself and his family to the threat of Nefis' kidnapper, who was also known as her abuser, Vedat, as well as the rejection of his family and his country to Nefis, as protecting a married woman with a child is considered against traditions in his hometown. Ramo is a young and ambitious guy who lives in Adana. He is the leader of his family and the neighborhood known as Pumpers. They do the illegal works on behalf of Cengiz, who is the boss of the underground world in Adana. Ramo and his family smuggle gasoline oil and work under the rule of Cengiz. They live in a neighborhood which is governed by its own rules and traditions. The family is connected to each other and does everything for the safety of their loved ones. Even though they are not happy with the current situation, they do not want any dispute with their boss. Ramo makes a plan to become the leader of Adana. His war against his boss would not be easy, but he is determined to get what he and his family deserves. In order to fulfill his goal, he thinks everything in detail and starts to execute his plan step by step. As a first step, Ramo retains the drugs which are supposed to be delivered to the mafia leader in Istanbul. By this way, he aims to put his boss in a difficult situation. However, one mistake made by his childhood friend boss makes things complicated. For this mistake, Ramo is ordered to kill his best friend boss and to prove his loyalty. Ramo finds himself in the middle of chaos. He would either choose his close friend or he would continue to execute his plan step by step. Ramo cannot sacrifice his friend and choose to protect all his loved ones. When he goes to the meeting point, he rebels against his boss and kills him right away. The competition for becoming the leader of underground world in Adana radically changes all the equations. Yavuz, who is the trustworthy man of the mafia leader in Istanbul, comes to Adana and starts to know Ramo more closely. Meanwhile, Ramo comes across his first love, Sibel, throughout this process. Sibel is a well-educated, strong and beautiful woman who is the daughter of Cengiz. She finds herself in the middle of the war between her father and her lover. Sia Beyazas, Price of Passion. Farhat is a hitman working for his criminal uncle. Asli is a young and idealistic doctor. One day, their roads crossed in the most unexpected way. Asli is forced to operate on a man that Farhat had shot. Then, Asli had to marry with Farhat to save her life. In the world of corrupt relationships and ambition of power, these two opposite people will get along through time and get closer to each other. However, Farhat's lifestyle is too dark to live an innocent love story. Bandits. Hizir is a powerful and rich man who enters the underground world after his elder brother is killed. He vows to revolt against injustice and starts to produce weapons for the mafia leader. He is a trustworthy man and is known by his fidelity. He never betrays to his country and the people whom he works together with. His character is also known by the government. The government thinks that there is not a better candidate than him in order to carry out the illegal activities. This is because current mafia leader Unal continues to sell the weapons to Turkish enemies without considering the country's future. Therefore, the government calls Hizir and makes him an offer of becoming the greatest. The government will destroy the current mafia leader and Hizir will become the new mafia leader, and in return, Hizir will be loyal to his country and stop selling weapons to Turkish enemies.